Del Toro has outdone himself. Frankenstein. Netflix finally allowed him to realise effectively what he considers his magnum opus, or something along those lines anyway. Netflix were the ones that allowed him to do it. I think there will be a lot of studio heads now just kicking themselves for why they didn't believe in him. He outdid himself. This film is a masterpiece. Netflix let him do it. Wow. What an incredible film. This is, of course, an adaptation of Mary Shelley's famous novella. And it's a beautiful film. Beautiful film. Genuinely beautiful. It's melancholic, haunting. It's a story, as most of the reviews out there you probably would have seen. It is a story about generational, and I hate these terms, generational fatherhood trauma, I guess. Each successive Frankenstein generation equally as disturbed as the last because of their father. What a bloody brilliant film. Really, really good film. So you know the story, right? I think we all know the story. Frankenstein and Frankenstein's monster. So what's the appeal to this, I guess? Why would you want to watch this, another version? Well, I don't think any version has been taken as seriously as this one. And I sincerely mean that. I think they've taken this very, very seriously. I think Netflix just said to Del Toro, how much money do you want? Well, that's what Del Toro said to Netflix. How much money can I have? And Netflix just said yes. Because the money and the attention to detail is dripping from the screen. Now, big budgets don't ordinarily mean, a great end product. But with Del Toro, I think it does to a degree, for him to realise everything he wants to visually, practically, set-wise, location-wise. You do need to feed that monster, as it were. But anyway, it's 3 minutes, and I'm not really getting to the point. You watch this film because you want a return to masterful storytelling. You watch this film because you appreciate not necessarily a slow burn, but you appreciate a story that takes its time. This isn't a short movie. It's 2.5 hours. Now that's ordinarily, back a few years, few decades, that wasn't exactly a long movie. It is considered a really long movie now. This is not a movie made for the TikTok generation. Let's put it that way. Although they could learn a thing or two about it. Jacob Elordi, who plays Frankenstein's monster, does such a good job. Actually unrecognisable. When you had, I don't know, certain individuals that just become what they're supposed to in the movie. You're like, oh, okay, yeah. Wow, like Penguin, for instance, right? The Batman Penguin. You're like, oh, okay. What happened there? That's not that actor. Like, what? This is what Jacob Elordi. Yeah, he did such a good job. Such a good job. And I will say this as well, Oscar Isaacs, my God. I don't, I've liked him few and far between. Less so recently. He's a good actor, but I dislike him more and more in some of the roles that he's done. And I remember really liking him in Ex Machina. And then in this, Oscar Isaacs gives a standout performance. And I hate saying stuff like this because I'm not the channel that does it. But this is a movie that, if it doesn't get awards buzz, it doesn't win awards, will be a travesty. Like an actual travesty. You know, you really know I'm not this kind of channel if you've been here for any length of time. You know that there's movies that get announced for being nominated for the Oscars and you're like, not even heard of it. This is a movie that should be nominated for Oscars. Like, it is a masterpiece. To me, it's a masterpiece. I think if you like Del Toro and you like the cut of his jib, you're not a TikToker, right? That kind of generation that just needs quick action set piece, quick, on to the next, buzz around the screen to keep your attention span glued to it. You appreciate a good, rich story. Yeah, I think you'd really like this. I don't necessarily think this movie will appeal to the younger generation so much. I think that they may find Frankenstein's monster a little bit silly in parts. I didn't, but I can see how younger generations may find it a bit silly. It's beautifully shot, beautifully written, beautifully acted. Is it a horror story? No. It's not what it's about, really. There are some gruesome things in it. Body parts strewn all over the place. There's some really, good action. It's grotesque action based on what happens. But you really feel for the monster. You really do. You also really do feel for Frankenstein, Victor Frankenstein. The way they've crafted this story, you do ultimately feel for all of them. In a way. And like I said, it's quite a melancholic movie. Quite melancholic. It's not ultimately majorly uplifting. It does end with an element of hope and optimism. But it's not an uplifting movie, I like films that give you something to ponder. The human experience. I think a lot of people can appreciate a movie that explores the human experience. If someone was to be born pure, as it were, what can you imbue into them? A soul untethered by is it original sin? Maybe. I don't know. I thought it was a great film. Great film. I think this film will go down as probably the ultimate Frankenstein adaptation. It's the quintessential Frankenstein adaptation to me. Yeah, I loved it. I thought it was great. Well worth your time watching. If this doesn't get awards, man, that would be a travesty.